And Miranda joins us now, along with Suzanne Evans from UKIP. Welcome to you both. Michael, do you think this George Osborne idea that he enshrines running a surplus on the budget into law, is that a good idea or a bad idea?
In itself, I don't think it's a particularly rational thing to do, because I think, we should run surpluses and deficits according to the economic cycle. But what he's doing is trying to change the game of politics. He's trying to change the mentality, the centre of the debate, towards thinking about much more responsible fiscal policies in the future. And in the short term, he's trapping the Labour Party, because they'll have to vote for this or against this. But I think, having come through all the decades since the Second World War in which we assumed that we would have deficits, and sometimes it would have very large deficits, this is a way of changing the way that people think about public finances.
How should Labour respond to this?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think it would be mad to vote against having a surplus, to be honest. But I mean, if you look at
law,
but look, under 18 years of the Conservatives, I think the Major and Thatcher, there was only 2 surpluses. When we were in power for 14, there were 3. So
I may be wrong, but I'm not sure the Thatcher government ever ran a surplus.
It's a bit of a gimmick. It's a bit of a gimmick.
So why
but all governments do. I mean, Gordon Brown, we sort of did it with child poverty. In the end, I think, Michael's right. You run the surplus or the deficit according...
You made child poverty a gimmick?
I think, no, we said we'd enshrine it. But the point is, look...
Enshrine it in what?
We enshrine it in law.
What, in the headstone?
But there's still child poverty, a lot of it in this country. So, it didn't work. And the truth is, there will be deficits.
Be honest to vote against it. Wouldn't a more honest position anyway be to say, we're going to, but we'll put into law that current spending has to be balanced at the very least, that day-to-day spending has to be financed by taxation. But, and I thought this was your party's position, we will borrow to invest, as companies borrow to invest, as people borrow to invest when they buy a house.
That, of course, look, after the war, I think the rate of deficit was 33% as we were building the NHS, setting up the welfare state. So, of course, there are legitimate reasons why you might run a deficit. That's why, in the end, this is a gimmick. It's a noble gimmick, perhaps, but it's a gimmick.
That you're going to vote for. Where are UKIP on this?
I think it's, I don't know where UKIP are on this, but certainly personally, I think I agree with David. It is a bit of a gimmick. It's a political statement. It's trying once again the Conservative Party to highlight the fiscal irresponsibility of Labour. And I think I can only look at this from a personal perspective of how I like to balance my own budgets. And there are times when you're doing well in life and when you want to invest and you want to borrow to invest, and the government might want to do that, to invest in infrastructure, in the NHS, in education, whatever it might be. And it's the times when you're not doing so economically well that you have to reel back and save and try and actually put money aside, in a sense. So for me, this is a sensible solution. Of course, in an ideal world, you want to at least balance the books, and perhaps we want to have a surplus.
David. So how can you agree with David and think it's a sensible solution?
Well, it's not a ludicrous idea. But
really?
Government's job is to balance the budget, and we've got to pay national debt down. But then I think any surplus that we have really should be put into cutting taxes as well. And I do go back to what I say.
You're not going to have enough to do both, are you?
No, not for some considerable time.
You can see from the difficulty David had answering why this
is difficulty. There was no difficulty.
Why this is a political... Oh, I think there was a difficulty.
What was the difficulty?
Why there was a... Well, you couldn't answer. That was the difficulty. This is purely a political ploy by the Chancellor.
Yes.
And here's the news. It looks like it's working.
Well, absolutely. I mean, people say about George Osborne, this is a very political chancellor, and here he goes again, and he just loves to throw banana skins underneath the feet of the Labour Party. But, I mean, there is a question about whether it's...
It's not necessarily a great way to run an economy.
No, it's not,
on the basis of throwing banana skins under the opposition.
Exactly. And actually, he should take the attitude with the Labour leadership contest as to not interfere with private grief, in my view, because actually it's not that prudent to tie your hands as a chancellor, nor to tie the hands of future chancellors, not just on this, but on the recent move to say, we're going to enshrine in law that certain taxes can't be raised. That in my view, was also crazy on VAT, etc., because you need that flexibility.
That he'll fail.
I've agreed with that already. Now, the consequence will be that the state will be reduced in size. The state will be smaller. And that is something that the Tories really want to do, and that is something that Labour, I think, ought to be opposed to. And it does at least, therefore, bring us to the proper divide in British politics.
But he's just won an election.
Speaking of Labour, David, where are we in the Labour leadership campaign now?
It's kicked off.
How can you tell? How can you tell?
The bodies are moving.
Or twitching, maybe.
We had the first hustings in front of the Parliamentary Labour Party this week on Monday. I actually thought the quality of the debate was higher than last time round when it was Ed and David Miliband and the wonderful Diane Abbott. It was a good high standard. They all made a good account of themselves, but it's the beginning of the race. There are a few scrapes midweek for them. We'll see where we get to, but it's a long race. We go right up to September, so there's a lot more to pan out in the Labour leadership.
Is it only now beginning to dawn on Labour the scale of the defeat?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that a lot of effort went into the general election from a lot of people knocking on a lot of doors, delivering a lot of leaflets, expected a result that was different. So there's initial shock, then actually there's some anger, and now there's a coming to terms. And how the party comes to terms with that defeat.
Do you take the view that you have a mountain to climb to win in 2020?
I think we've got a huge mountain. You know, I've said this before, once you leave Tottenham and Enfield, you've got to get up to Cambridge, Luton, Norwich before you start to see any red at all. The south is gone. This is
outside
vast.
of London.
And in order to come back, we need an 8% swing. You've got to win Scotland and Chingford. That is a huge, huge task for the Labour Party. And they're coming to terms with that. It's massive.
Suzanne, on the European referendum, do you think that Tory, when it comes to the referendum, once the renegotiation is done and the referendum is called, will the Let's Get Out of Europe campaign, will that be a combination of Tory Eurosceptics and UKIP?
I certainly hope so, because why not? We got 28% in the European elections, so that arguably is the base that we absolutely know would vote for an out in a referendum. We've got to get 51% to get over that line. So we've got to bring in the Tory Eurosceptics and, of course, the Labour Eurosceptics as well, of which there are fewer, but definitely some, and some very good people in that. So, yeah, we've got to work as a team. It's very important. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. It is something that we have to grasp the mettle. Can't wait to get started. I rather wish we were able to go for it now, and that we had a date in the diary and where we knew it was going to happen, so the campaign could really kick off.
Don't you feel the argument's drifting away from you a bit?
No, I don't think it is. I actually think the argument's very much with us, because Cameron keeps making the argument for us, in a sense. You know, look at the disaster that's happened just this week, when he's saying, no, I'm not going to give my ministers a free vote, and then he looks like he's backtracking, but he still won't actually make a decision.
I was just looking at the polls which show that actually there's quite a... I mean, you have quite a mountain to... I mean, if David has a mountain to climb, you have a mountain to climb too. The polls seem to be strengthening in favour of staying in.
I think there's still a huge amount of people out there who are very much undecided. I think the last poll I looked at, it was around about 70% of people hadn't actually made a definitive decision either way. And I think that the more this sort of phony renegotiation goes on, and I do think it's a bit of a phony renegotiation, because I don't think we're going to actually...
Well, it's not going to give you what you want.
It's not going to give us what I want. I don't think it's going to give the British public what they want. Control of our borders, you know, power back to Westminster and so on and so forth. You know the list.
It's late.
And
I want to ask the big question of Miranda. Why are you not running for the Lib Dem leadership?
Oh, I wouldn't dream of doing anything so, you know, outrageously
She has a fantastic television presence and huge numbers of fans out there.
No, our viewers alone would elect.
People stop me in the street and say how wonderful you are.
No, I mean, I'm very interested in the subject you've been discussing with Suzanne, though. And actually, I think for me and most other people of a Lib Dem persuasion, or even Lib Dem leaning, the EU referendum is the big deal, actually, much bigger than the Lib Dem leadership contest even, because, you know, that's the national interest, and most Lib Dems are very pro-EU.
You've got that political ability, which is quite common now, that I ask you a question about A and you answer B. So I think you should run.
You're becoming a real politician.
Because you're getting like all these other politicians. I exclude Michael, he always answers questions. Very briefly.
Well, I was going to say, I think the only chance for the no vote is firstly that all the establishment will be in favour of yes, and that secondly, if there's a great accident in Europe, I mean, it could be Brexit, it could be something beyond that, the combination of all the establishment telling the British people what's good for them and some disaster in Europe could just lead to the British people being bloody-minded. That's the only hope.
Oh, we're not being bloody-minded, being sensible and doing the right thing.
Europe, it's late. We have a long time to debate these matters. Miranda, Suzanne, thank you.